bareboat, you just hire the boat and go where you please. Obviously, staying within reach of the base, because you have to get back there at the end, but that's the only limitation, that you start at a certain time, take the boat, and have to be back a certain date and time, and where you go is entirely up to you.
That sounds adventurous, a bit too much for me. What's the most popular sailing destination you do?
I think certainly for UK sailors, the Greek islands, taken as a whole, are without a doubt the most popular area. Obviously, there are a lot of Greek islands, and that means that there's something for everyone. Within the Greek islands, and as a single most popular area, I'd say it is the Ionian Islands, which are the ones with the more moderate conditions. But close second to that would be Croatia, and then the Aegean coast of Turkey.
Once you've got more experience, you might want something a bit more challenging. Where would be the most challenging destination for somebody?
As far as a charter holiday is concerned, so we're not talking about circumnavigating the globe here, but having a week or two in the sunshine somewhere, I'd say one of the more challenging areas in the Mediterranean would be the Cycladic islands of Greece and the central Aegean. Very windy, lots and lots of islands to explore, interesting navigation. So that's, I would say, an area for more experienced sailors. I'd say the same for southern Italy, the Aeolian Islands, perhaps chartering from Sicily. That's a fairly challenging area as well. And then further afield, perhaps somewhere like the Grenadines in the Caribbean. Nice area to explore, off the beaten track, consistently good sailing winds, fairly brisk winds, the trade winds that are very, very reliable, can always be counted on. So that's another popular area with experienced sailors.
Hello, it's Roy. Yeah, we're on the ferry. We should be in Spain tomorrow afternoon.
Well, be careful. Lots of crooks on the roads out here.
Crooks? You know where I grew up.
This is different. They target British registered vehicles.
Yeah, they used to do that round my way.
I'm serious. They'll tell you there's something wrong with your car, so you pull over, then they rob you. Or they distract you at a motorway stop. They target hire cars, too.
Hire cars?
Yeah, well, they're driven by tourists.
Oh, OK, I'll watch out.
Good. So, looking forward to the drive down?
Yeah, well, I was.
Thieves in Spain have been targeting hire cars and UK-registered vehicles, so be extra careful on the roads. For details, visit gov.uk and search for Living in Spain.
Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com.
Still to come, travel news with the disruptive passenger I mentioned earlier, and there could be problems ahead for London City Airport. Find out what they are shortly. At the moment, I'm still speaking about chartering a yacht. I'm speaking to Chris Lorenzo, who's the MD at Seafarer, a company that do cruises and also charter out big boats. And they're probably going to get hit now for saying big boats instead of yachts. And there are things that still come into your head about something like this if you've not done it before, such as me. And one of the problems I've foresaw, whether it's a real problem or not, I don't know, we're going to find out in a minute, is travel insurance.
Another bit to do with holidays is travel insurance. Can it be expensive to insure yourself on a trip like this?
It's no different to standard travel insurance. Because this isn't competitive sailing, it's a standard policy. In fact, a lot of standard travel insurance policies will cover you on a sailing holiday on the understanding that there's no racing involved and you're not going more than 12 miles offshore. And typically when you're island hopping, coastal hopping, etc., that's the kind of distance you'd ever be away from landfall. So no, I'd say the same as standard holiday insurance. There are specialist policies out there as well, which are very, very slightly more, but we're talking about a couple of pounds difference for some of the sailing specialist policies. There is also a security deposit when you hire a yacht, but that's almost identical to the sort of security deposit and collision damage waiver that you pay when you hire a car. So there's no difference there.
What would happen if you had an emergency?
In the charter areas, Firstly, I have to say that emergencies are very, very rare. But in the holiday charter areas, there's very good support. One has a VHF radio on their yacht with all the emergency communication being part of one's training in terms of what one would need to do to contact the Coast Guard and so on. One has a mobile phone, so for whatever reason the radio is knocked out of action, the aerial goes down or something like that, you're always 99% of the time within mobile phone range, and emergency services are accessible. And the setup in all these areas in terms of getting fast boats out for assistance is very good.
Do you ever get asked about pirates?
In the more exotic destinations, places like the Far East, sailing out of Thailand, or perhaps some areas of the Caribbean, or in the Seychelles, which are all areas that Seafarer covers, we do get asked that question. And I have to say there have been no incidents whatsoever in any of those areas, certainly in our experience. You do get independent private owners who venture off the beaten track, or close to places like the coast of Somalia when they're doing a long round the world voyage. They're similarly in certain places in the Far East that have fallen victim to piracy. But I'd say in the holiday areas, again, the authorities are well on top of anything like that. We have had absolutely no reported incidents in all the years that we've been trading, and that's since 1995. So not an issue in the holiday areas at all.
If you was to go off on a sailing holiday now, where would be your ideal location?
Surprisingly, yeah. I'm a great fan of the Eastern Mediterranean in general, and I think the combination of let's say the Greek islands and Turkey, and on the eastern Aegean islands of Greece, you're just off the Turkish coast. I think that has a certain magic that you won't find anywhere else. It's just that mixture of great weather, really interesting culture, friendly people, lots and lots of history as well, if you're interested in that. And it's all within easy reach, lots of islands, lots of little harbours, lots of delightful little places to discover. And I don't think there's anywhere else quite like it in the world. And if you kind of manage to mix and match Greece and Turkey by hopping across, and that is possible on charter holidays these days, it adds that little bit of extra adventure of crossing an international border, and in fact crossing between Europe and Asia Minor. So yeah, that's I'd say my first choice.
How can Seafarer help those who are looking for a sailing holiday?
Well, we have an extensive range of product. We're an independent company, so we are a smaller company. That means we offer a more personal service, and all our team, whether it's some of our lead yacht crews who work on flotilla holidays out in the Med and in the BVI in the Caribbean, British Virgin Islands, or whether it's the team here in the office of consultants, they're all very experienced people, very knowledgeable, so we offer, I think, really sound advice. And being a smaller independent company, I think we can attend to quality control and personal service better than the very large companies. And it also means that our prices can stay competitive. So I think on all those counts, Seafarer is a really good choice.
You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on UKHealthRadio.com.
Moving on from sailing and onto cruising now. I had a trip on a massive cruise ship, one of the first sailings, and it's put me off for life. A long story which I won't go into. But there are much smaller and more intimate cruise ships around. What's the range of sizes and types available?
There is a great choice these days. Seafarer specialises in yacht cruises, and of course the term yacht is used by various operators in various ways, and you get large ships of 800 people capacity, 800 passenger capacity, which they describe as a yacht. And I'd say, possibly that's stretching it a bit. We have scheduled departures on what we call mega yachts, which have just 20-25 cabins. So let's say something like 35, 40, maximum 50 passengers on board. It gives the feeling of being on, a millionaire's private yacht without the price tag. Of course, it's not private because you're sharing it with other clients, but you'd almost feel like being on a guest on one of those beautiful private yachts that you see either in the Greek Isles or in the south of France, etc., moored offshore. And I think that's a far more intimate cruising experience. It's informal, relaxing, very friendly. But there's another really important element to it, and that is that you manage to get into places that the big ships can't go. You discover these little out-of-the-way places which don't have the capacity to berth a huge ship. I think clients choose that sort of product for that very reason. They are also, I'd say, quite sensitive to the environmental impact, and obviously a passenger vessel with just 50 people on board has a much smaller carbon footprint, and in general has a very different effect when it visits let's say a small island community compared to a very large cruise ship which lands 3,500 passengers in one go. There are also different kinds of vessels, for example, sailing ships, tall ships, capacity of between 140 and over 200 passengers. It's still a small ship, and the whole romance of sail aspect, I think, is a great draw for a lot of people. That magical moment when they switch off the engines and the ship's travelling under sail alone is something that you can't replicate on a big cruise ship, obviously. And that is run in a similar way, informal, friendly, and they can still get into the smaller ports that the big ships can't go.
I was in Antigua in November and I saw a tall ship come in because the yacht show was on. And it does look very spectacular. And I think, that's the way to travel.
Yeah, they do look great. And for those that feel a little bit more, they're very nice on board as well, of course, with a traditional build with natural wood and brass everywhere and so on. It looks really super. But the more adventurous ones can actually climb up into the crow's nest. They have to wear all the safety harnesses and it's all closely supervised, but getting up there into the rigging is an experience that many people try and never forget. It's really great.
When these smaller ships are sailing between destinations, is there much on board for them people to do?
Actually, no, because the sailing between destinations isn't what it's about. I mean, big cruise ships are all about life on board, and you can go ice skating, rock climbing, go riding waves in a pool and all sorts of weird and wonderful things, and go gambling and so on. The smaller ships are more about exploring the places you go to, so often they'll get the crossing to the next island or the next port of call out of the way in, say, 3 or 4 hours, which is fine because, you catch up on, you read your info book on where you're going, you sunbathe a bit on deck, they might drop anchor somewhere and you go for a swim off the swimming platform at the back in a lovely little bay or cove somewhere, totally private and pristine, crystal clear waters. And then you arrive in the next port of call, and it's all about having the time to go off and explore in an unhurried way. And that's the big attraction. So whilst they look great and they're great to be on board and it's very friendly and meal times are kind of like a private dinner party, it's not about life on board. It's more about the exploration and having lots of time to explore in the various little places you go to.
In terms of price, how does per person price on a smaller ship compared to being on one of the mega floating resorts?
It's surprisingly affordable. Seafarer market a particular small ship, what we call a mega yacht cruise product called Variety Cruises, and it's actually a world leader. Variety Cruises is the largest small ship operator of its kind, with 11 cruise vessels. And it's surprisingly affordable. People would expect to be paying £4,000 and £5,000 a person for a package with flights and so on. And on selected departures early and late season with early booking, you can actually travel under £1,000, which is remarkable on a luxury product like that. I'd say the average price in the Mediterranean is well under £2,000 per person. Some of the long-haul destinations like Panama Canal or the Seychelles or the rivers of West Africa, which is another unusual one, are a little bit more. but still surprisingly affordable. And I'd say it's on a par with the slightly higher category large cruise ships. So you're not really paying that much of a premium at all, if at all.